The Financial Information Forum, FIF, represents the plumbing of Wall Street, the broker-dealers, clearing firms, and technology vendors responsible for the back-office settlement of trades. These recent FOIA emails reveal an intense, coordinated effort by these entities to lobby the SEC regarding a NextBridge Hydrocarbons S-1 filing. The motive. The NextBridge filing, if made effective by the SEC, would have required shares of NextBridge Hydrocarbons to be moved out of brokerage accounts and into the transfer agent for holders to participate in a subscription rights offering. The problem. If brokers held more IOUs, also known as counterfeit shares, phantom shares, or FTDs, than actual shares allocated to them by the DTCC, they would be unable to fulfill these transfer requests. TradeStation's admission that it was allocated fewer shares than the firm's overall customer position is a critical piece of evidence suggesting a systemic share deficit. We know the imbalances weren't limited to TradeStation because the MMTLP community discovered long before this FOIA that the FIF was being utilized to gather market participants impacted by the prospect of this S1 being made effective. Furthermore, throughout the FOIA, there are references to FIF members and lending broker-dealers in the plural. Assessment of the FOIA emails. The emails in this FOIA, dated September through October 2023, show a specific timeline of influence. Initial outreach, September 19, 2023. Howard Meyerson of FIF contacts Eric Girding and David Saltiel at the SEC to raise operational concerns about the NextBridge Hydrocarbons S1. He explicitly notes he is unaware of a standard comment process for an S1, indicating the industry sought a private channel to intervene. While not always illegal in this context, private backroom lobbying that results in a major regulatory action, like denying effectiveness, can be challenged in court as arbitrary and capricious under the Administrative Procedure Act. The list of grievances. October 4, 2023. FIF provided a bulleted list of reasons for the SEC to block or alter the filing. Key points included: tax consequences, claiming forced transfers would harm IRA accounts; staffing, claiming transfer agents couldn't handle the volume; the short admission. Crucially, FIF admits that due to the prior FINRA trading halt, there are shares on loan that lending broker-dealers cannot recover. This is the heart of their concern. By asking the SEC to determine that the subscription rights offering is problematic because it exposes a lack of shares available for delivery, FIF is effectively acknowledging that Regulation SHO, the rule against naked short selling, has failed. Instead of fixing the delivery failure by forcing buy-ins or other remedies, blocking the rights offering allowed the delivery failure to persist without consequence. The result, shortly after these meetings, the SEC requested that NextBridge withdraw the subscription rights filing. Regulatory and legal implications. From a law enforcement and market integrity perspective, several red flags appear. Prioritizing certain market participants over others. The SEC's mission, quoted directly from Meyerson's October 4, 2023 email, is to protect investors, maintain fair, orderly, and efficient markets, and facilitate capital formation. However, the FIF correspondence suggests the SEC prioritized intervening on behalf of broker-dealers who couldn't cover their short positions over the rights of the issuer and its shareholders to conduct a rights offering. In the same email, Meyerson suggested, if the SEC decides to approve the S1 filing, the SEC should require removal of the provision that participating customers cannot hold shares through a bank, broker-dealer, or other nominee. This will maintain customer choice and allow for future reconciliation of outstanding stock loans or the equivalent warrants. Though FIF claims to protest based on the interests of customers, their suggestion is focused on protecting the banks, broker-dealers, and other nominees whose imbalances stood to be exposed. The irony of emphasizing customer choice flies in the face of the customers deprived by the U3 halt of their choice to sell or hold their shares of MMTLP before the one-for-one exchange planned for December 14, 2022. If the SEC blocks a filing not because of poor disclosure but because it might hurt market participants who were short the security, they are effectively choosing winners and losers. This moves the SEC away from being a referee and toward being a player managing market outcomes. Under Section 8A of the Securities Act, the SEC must consider the public interest and the protection of investors when reviewing the effectiveness of a filing. Most securities experts would argue that the public interest is best served by enforcing the rules of the offering, not by saving professional traders from a failed trade or short position they voluntarily entered. Blocking an offering to prevent reconciliation effectively rewards those who cannot deliver shares, essentially subsidizing a failure to settle. This direct and private access to the SEC demonstrates preferential treatment. It calls into question all regulatory decisions that favored those who held short positions in MMTLP, and the subsequent obligations to facilitate transfers of NextBridge Hydrocarbons shares. In closing, there are a few points that are difficult to ignore and, in my opinion, remove all doubt that the SEC acted on behalf of FIF intervention. Admission of failure. If the SEC is made aware that market participants cannot deliver shares because of FINRA's U3 halt, this is a serious admission. Regulation SHO requires participants of a registered clearing agency to take action to close out failure to deliver positions. If a participant admits they have an imbalance and cannot reconcile it, the SEC's Division of Enforcement is technically obligated to investigate. Abuse of discretion. Under the Administrative Procedure Act, an agency's decision, like denying the effectiveness of a subscription rights offering, must not be arbitrary, capricious, or an abuse of discretion. False administrative record. Whatever reason the SEC cited to block the subscription rights offering, even if legitimate, the fact that they entertained the FIF suggests the appearance of a false administrative record created to fit an agenda opposed to short squeezes. The SEC's mandate is to protect investors, the shareholders, and the public interest. What we see here is the SEC protecting certain market participants at the direct expense of the issuer and the shareholders. This is a classic case of regulatory capture, where the agency begins to view the survival and stability of the plumbing, the big banks and brokers, as more important than the rights of individual investors. This concludes the presentation, but stay tuned for further elaboration on the implications of this newly released information. Also, special thanks to Ann Vandersteel for her commitment to exposing this injustice and fighting for a favorable and timely resolution.